Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I am Ashley. I'm a homeschooling mom with 7 kiddos. We have as old as a 7th grader all the way down to a 1-year-old, and you can constantly hear them in the background. They're playing some video games right now. Okay. So I think I have done a video on this similar to this, but I kind of wanted to do an updated one for those who are just starting homeschooling. If you don't know, we have our 2 oldest that were previously in public school for a short time. This is our 4th year of homeschooling. We just started our 4th year. So my oldest went through 3rd grade, and my second kiddo went through kindergarten, and then we pulled them out. And so I know, like, just with everything that's going on, I can tell that there are a lot of people, just based on Facebook, based on just so many places, that there are so many people that are pulling their kids out of public school. And I wanted to just kind of recap. I don't know, I think I maybe touched on these a little bit in a previous video that I did about things that I wish that I knew when I started homeschooling. But there are things that I think that every new homeschooler should be aware of, things to kind of keep in mind when, whether this is the start of your homeschooling journey or you are thinking about it, because things change. And I feel like maybe what I would have said, things that I thought of maybe when I first started homeschooling, each year I feel like I have different reasons. I mean, I've kept the same reasons why I homeschool, but I kind of add on to those. And so I just wanted to kind of give some, and I don't want to say insight, some tips as to what to keep in mind and what might help you to navigate if you are just starting to homeschool. I wrote these down so I wouldn't forget. First off, writing down all of your, basically like a brain dump. Have a notebook, a brain dump where you put down all of your ideas, any curriculum that you might be interested in researching more about, schedule options, whether you want to do a schedule, whether you want to do a flow, whether you want to do a co-op, whether you want to do online based versus strictly textbook. Everything from curriculum to schedule to like I said, if you want to do a co-op, researching those co-ops. We have never done a co-op. I have not found the need to. I have not really, it has not interested me, to be honest. Yeah, I feel like it kind of takes away from what we do at home, and we're gone so much anyway. I feel like it would just kind of defeat the purpose. But anyway, again, that's a personal choice. But starting broad. So let's say you are looking at your curriculum options. You are looking at, do I want secular? Do I want non-secular? Put those in 2 different sections and write down your options or your different choices that you might have, different things, curriculum pieces that you might have heard people talking about or that you've looked up on YouTube or wherever. Start broad and then narrow it down. Same goes with a schedule. If you know that you want a flow, or if do you want a specific schedule? So starting broad and narrowing it down, regardless of what you're talking about. Let's say you know that you want to do secular or non-secular, and then narrowing it down, what are your options in secular curriculum? What are your options in non-secular? And then saying, are there certain subjects that I want to do? What subjects would I like to do, secular or non-secular? Just starting broad and doing a brain dump and putting everything on paper in a notebook and then narrowing it down. That is key to figuring out what curriculum you want to use, what schedule you want to use, what manipulatives you want to use, what, do I want to do more play-based? Do I want to do more textbook, for the younger kids? I can't even explain to you how many options there are for all of these things. And each year that I do this, I find that I do things a little bit differently each year. I either add something, or I change something up, or I take something away, or I mix it up based on how my kids learn best, because they don't all learn the same. So that takes me into number 2, not comparing. And I mean this in, first off, not comparing your kids, because what you think works or worked for one child for learning to read, or for history curriculum, or for, math. Every kid's learning types. Now, if all your kids learn the same way, then that's great. Mine do not. I find that some of mine are need more of an interactive, play-based type curriculum. Some are more like, and I find my public school kids are more like straight to the point. Like, it doesn't really bother them too much, especially my oldest kid, because they were in that environment for so long that, I say so long, up to 3rd grade, but really he remembers, how the schedule was and the structure and stuff like that. And so to kind of break him from that was a little bit hard, and he still kind of is fairly structured when it comes to those things and schoolwork and stuff. But not comparing your kids' learning styles, for one, and not comparing how they learn and how they retain that information. I have a couple kids that learn the alphabet like that. I have one that is learning the alphabet easier than his older brother is at retaining that. And so you cannot have these expectations. I have one of my kids that was reading chapter books in Kinder Bridge, in between preschool and kindergarten. And in kindergarten, she was reading full-fledged chapter books. And I have one that's kindergarten, maybe a little bit under Kinder Bridge, kindergarten, that is having difficulty with that. And I have to stop and not compare how she was to how he is as far as reading is concerned. So not comparing your kids, but also not comparing yourself to other families. Families are so different when it comes to homeschooling. There are some that are so not structured and just very, eclectic when it comes to curriculum pieces, and just very, finding things here and there and picking random curriculum pieces and putting it all together. And some are more open and go. And I find that open and go works a little bit better for us, but that's because I have a lot of kids. Not comparing how someone else's kid is doing to yours, not comparing how someone else's schedule is to yours, because every single family is different. I have people that I know that homeschool whose schedules are so different during the week than ours, and it's just you can't compare it. And it's hard to do that, just like, people compare their marriage or their home life, or how big their house is, or their car, or etc. Same goes for homeschool and homeschool life. You cannot compare that, because if you do, you will constantly question all of your decisions from day one. Because when I first started, I did that. And I was like, oh, this looks great. So-and-so is doing this. Let me try this. And if I found that it didn't work, then I kind of felt discouraged. And I'm like, then I had to, tell myself, okay, well, how they homeschool is totally different. I have more kids, or, I have older kids, or I have younger kids. So, there are just so many different factors and so many different things that you have to look at when you are doing your thing. versus what someone else is doing. Somebody that might have homeschooled for a long time, a lot longer than you, or somebody that has just started homeschooling and they're kind of learning the ropes too, and maybe they try something and it works for them, but it didn't work for you. Do not be discouraged. Things that just you automatically compare. It is hard to kind of stay in, I don't want to say stay in your own bubble, but stay in your own mindset of what works best for you and your family. Number 3, make it fun. There are so many things, so many options that you have with homeschooling as far as doing fun things, out of the ordinary textbook and out of the ordinary worksheets and things like that, especially your younger ones where I have a couple that just like hate tracing letters, hate tracing words. One is not a huge fan of reading. And it's like, oh my gosh, you have to read. Like, I don't know. So what I did for her was I bought books that she likes, of characters that she likes. So, Pinkalicious, Fancy Nancy, things like that. And I said, okay, I would like for you to read this to me. Read this to your siblings, or just read it to yourself. But it's a story that she likes. It is not some random just story in the part of a book. She prefers like character books and things that she is familiar with. And so I had to adapt to that. As far as my one kid that's learning and trying to retain the alphabet and retains, letter sounds and things like that, games and things that just do not involve just boring kind of, like I said, tracing or just the same thing over and over and over again every day. Mixing it up some helps tremendously, because my younger kids, the ones that have not been in public school, it's a little bit hard for them because they don't understand what public school could be like. So keeping it fun. Remember that nothing is set in stone. From the day that you start, you can change it the next day. You could start something, a curriculum, and then say, on day 2, like, this is not working. I do not like this. Or my kid does not like this. Or this is just too cut and dry. This is not at all what I expected. Or my child prefers cut and dry, and this is way too many like games and fluff and stuff like that. There is nothing that is set in stone with homeschooling. That is the beauty of it. You can change it at any given time. There's a bug flying in here. You can change it at any given time. You can adjust as needed. You can literally change anything halfway through the year. If you figure out that what your curriculum is, that it's not working, change it. I have done that before, and we have caught up and we have done just fine. You can also change what you think your schedule might be like when you first start. When I first started, I will even say for this year alone, I have a flow that I have written down for the kids. But there are days when, let's say we are out at an appointment or something, and my older kids are working in the car, and that flow gets messed up some. If you stay so adhered and so strict to that schedule or flow that you have, it just won't work. I can tell you that firsthand, and I don't tell you that because I have 7 kids. I tell you that as a homeschooling parent of however many kids you have, that if you do not give yourself the ability to change and to adjust and to be flexible, you are missing the whole point of this. You are missing the whole point of homeschooling. The reason for homeschooling is so that you can do what you feel like you need to do and teach your kids what you feel like you need to teach them in a relaxed, more comfortable environment. Now, with that being said, you want to have some sort of structure. But just know that when you can flip things around. You can say, I do not like this math curriculum. I do not like this language arts curriculum. My kid is not paying attention. I need to mix it up some. Nothing is set in stone. Finally, that you have the control. You have the control over what your kid learns, over what you feel like your learning style of your kids is when you have a room full of 25 kids or whatever the number is, the crazy number is now. There's just no way that they can direct individual attention unless you have a one-on-one tutoring session. It just doesn't work. If they can't stop what they're doing, they can stop and answer questions, but if there's a limited time in your classroom and the teacher cannot stop and direct individual one-on-one attention with one particular child for 20 minutes. It's just not going to happen. Knowing that you have the control over how quickly your child moves through, I want to say a subject, but a lesson. If your kid is a speedy reader, then you can push them. If they're not so good at reading, then you can hold back and work with them a little bit more. You have the control. Now, as you get into high school and things like that, in the upper grades, there are obviously courses that they need to take in order to get credit. But as far as just kind of knowing that you can teach what you feel you want to teach, whatever that may be, versus what the public school system is teaching, you are able to do that freely for the most part. In Texas, we don't have, I've said this in another video, we do not have checkpoints. We do not have testing that we do. We do not have anything. I pulled my kids out of public school, and they said, see you later. That was it. There was nothing, there has been no communication. There's no communication in Texas whatsoever if you homeschool. Withdrawing your kids is all the communication that you get, and you do that with your school if that's what you're doing, if you're withdrawing, and that's it. So really, you go at your own pace. Now, in other states where there are checkpoints and testing and things like that, obviously that might be a little bit different, and you might have to do certain things in order to keep up with those testings. But for the most part, here we are. We don't have any checkpoints at all. All right, so if you have any questions, I hope those helped for any of you that are new to homeschooling or have just started, or maybe you are veteran homeschoolers and just needed that little pep talk or boost to change things around a little bit, because knowing that you can, and sometimes you forget, like, hey, wait, I am homeschooling, I am in control of this, I can change this if it's not working for me or my kids. People just tend to forget that. And sometimes, people will try and discourage you from homeschooling and so forth. And, whether it's friends or people or people you don't know. And sometimes that can make you second guess yourself. But, it is what it is. You know what you're doing, and that's why you're here. So let me know if you have any other questions. If you are new to homeschooling, let me know. I am happy to help in any way. And if there's anything that you want me to do a video about specifically in regards to homeschooling and how we do things here, let me know down below. And I will see you guys next time. Take care.